When and where? History, Class 8. History of British India. The history of British India purports to be a study of India which James set out to attack the history, character, religion, literature, arts, and laws of India, also making claims about the influence of Indian climate. He also claimed to look at the attacks on India within a wider theoretical framework. The book begins, the book begins with a preface in which Mills Mill tries to make a virtue of having never visited India and knowing none of its native languages. So the native languages are Indo-Aryan languages uh, Indo-Aryan languages spoken by most of the people, such as Hindi, and then we have Dravidian languages in and 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 the remaining languages are 2.3%, 31% to him. These are the guarantees of objective and the body claims. A duty of qualified man can obtain more knowledge of India in 1 year closer in England than he could obtain during the course of 5 years in India. Why is history fascinated with dates? History was synonymous with it. We always ask historical questions about what we see around us. Such historical questions refers us back to the notations of that time, but time does not have to be always precisely dated in terms of a particular year or a month. Sometimes it is actually incorrect to fix precise dates to process that happen over a period of a time. Okay, you find the word. Okay, so history is about finding out how things were in the past and how things have changed. History was an account of battles and big events such as the year a king was crowned. Okay, the year he married. Wait a second. The year he married, the year he had a child, the the year he fought a particular war, the year he died, the year next ruler succeeded to the throne. For events such as these, specific dates can be determined in history, debates about dates continue to be important. So, the first map of India was produced by James Rennell. James Rennell in 1782. This map was asked by Robert Clive, the British governor. The map of India was prepared because Britishers believed it was essential for the process of domination. Indian gave the first page of map shows Indians willingly gave their ancient taxes to Britannia, asking her to become the protector of Indian culture. Okay, okay. So time spent means when a specific date cannot be fixed for an event in the past and only one approximate period can be fixed. This period is called the time span. So this period is called the time span, which is shown here, the biggest this the biggest year over here is the time span. All these things happen over a stretch of time. We can only refer to a span of time an approximate period when changes became visible. So basically it is when an event becomes visible to uh, to some person. So its approximate is known as the time span. So blue to green to yellow. Okay, blue to green to yellow years. When an event becomes visible, it to the local peoples, its approximate time is known as the time span. However, how advertisements helps to create taste. All advertisements helps us to how markets for new products were created, new tasters were popularized. 1922 advertisement for Lipton tea suggests that the royalty all over the world is associated with this tea. So, the governors and viceroys who ruled over the British India over the India during British period were Warren Hastings, Wellesley, Bentinck, Dal, Dalhousie Canning, Lawrence, Lytton, Ripon, Curzon, Harding, Inwood, ended with ended with the chronology of the list market the different and, and ended with the chronology of lives of, of live market known as the Mountbatten. Why the rule of each ruler governor general was important according to the British historians. So actually, what the hell? The smart art is not coming here, so please neglect it. Please neglect it. आगे को pages पे आ रही है. I think so there was an error. Please neglect it. Indian history during the British period began with the rule of the first Governor General Warren Hastings and ended with Lord Mountbatten. All the dates in the history books were linked to these personalities, to their activities, policies, and achievements. If if there was nothing outside their lives that was important for us to know, the chronology of the life market, the different chapter of the history of British India. His history book narrated the deeds of the Governor General's biographies, glorified them as persons, painting projected them as powerful figures. Historians refer to modern period as colonial. Under British rule, people did not have equality, freedom, and or liberty, the symbols of modernity. But in 1817, James Mill, a Scottish economist and political philosopher, published a massive three-volume book, A History of British India. In this, he divided history into three periods: Hindu, Muslim, and British. Mill thought all Asian societies were at lower level of civilization than Europe. According to his telling of story, before British came to India, Hindu and Muslim despots ruled the country. Religious intolerance, caste taboos, and superstition practice dominated social life. British rule built felt he could civilize India. India was not capable of such progress without British help. British rule represented all forces of progress and civilization. At last, he at last he pre- at last he prioritized basically uh, his, uh, history of India into three parts: Hindu, Muslim, and the Great British. And he wrote the Great British according to James Mill. So here we are, the National Archives of India. National Archives of India came up in 1920s. When New Delhi was built, the National Museum and the National Archives were both located close to the Viceroyal Place. Okay, this location reflects the importance these institutions had in British imagination. Okay, so this was till here. So now it's time for the extra thing. First thing we are going to do is glossary colonization, the subjugation of one by other leads to different kinds of changes in political, economical, social and cultural aspects. The process is referred to as colonization. Calligraphists, these are specialized in the art of beautiful writing. Wow. Like we call it the calligraphy. Topography, the study of forms and features of land surfaces, and anthropology, the science of humanity concerned with the human behavior, human biology, and societies in both present and past, includes past human species. This is the anthropology. Now it's time for the timeline. Timeline is 1773. Warren Hastings became the first Governor General of India. 1782. James Linnell produced the first map. 1870. A History of British 70s, published by James Mill. 1857. A massive rebel against British rule broke up in 1857. 1920, the National Archives of India came up. 1947, Lord Mountbatten became the last British ruler of British India. So it's time for the summary. Mill goes on his preface to say that his work is a critical history encompassing singularly harsh attacks on Hindu. So basically, Hindu are persons who regard themselves as culturally, ethnically, or religious adhering to aspects of Hinduism. So let's back to the double Hindu customs and a backward culture which he claims be notable only for superstition, ignorance, and mistreatment of women. His work was influential in the eventual banning of British of the Hindu tradition of a widow immolating herself after her husband's death, known as sati, in 1829. Or basically, sati is a historical Hindu practice in which widow sacrifices herself by sitting atop of a deceased hun- husband's funeral. तो बेसिकली जो हम लोग चलाते नहीं है लाश को उसके ऊपर उसकी वीडियो भी उसके साथ बैठ जाती है उससे बोलते हैं हम लोग सती तो हिस्टोरिकल perspective Mill tells the story of England and later British acquisition of wide territories of India severely criticizing those involved in the conquest and the latest administrator conquered territories as well as illuminating the harmful effects of commercial monopolies, monopolies. How can I explain it? So basically, monopolies. I think which when monopoly. So you can say a type of monopoly when a specific person or enterprise is, is the only superior or of a particular commodity. This contrasts with a monoxony, which relates the single entity's control of a market to purchase a good or a service, and with will oligopoly and duopoly, which consist of a few sellers dominating the market. Back to the topic, commercial monopolies such as that in the Imperial East India Company. So basically East India Company, also known as the uh, the English or the British English East, or the British company that had came from the Bengal and started ruling over India. That is the East India Company. Back to the topic. As a philosopher, Mill applies political theory to the description of the civilization of India. His interest is in institutions, ideas, and historical processes, while his work is relatively lacking in human interest, in that he does not seek to be paid memorable portraits of Robert Clive, Warren Hastings, and the other leading players in the history of British India, nor of its famous battles. Indeed, the history has been called a work of Benthamite. So, actually, a work of Benthamite. So, actually, Jeremy Bentham was an English philosopher who, from the social reform, regarded as the founder of modern utilize, okay, utilitarianism. Back to the topic, philosophical history. Utilitarianism, that was Jeremy Bentham, was an English philosopher, jurist, and a social reformer regarded as the founder of modern utilitarianism. Okay, back to the topic of work of Benthamite philosophical history, from which readers is supposed to draw lessons about the human nature, reason, and religion. Despite the fact the mill had never been to India, his work have a profound effect on British imperial system government in the country, as it did official connection with India. The Oriental Horace Hyman Wilson, or we can Horace Hyman Wilson, was an English Orientalist which was elected the first Borden professor of Sanskrit at Oxford University. Okay, so he elected the professor of Sanskrit at Oxford University. Edited later editions. Back to the topic. The Orientalist Horace Wilson edited later editions and extended the history 1835 with a continuation entitled The History of British India from 1805 to 1835. He also added notes with works based on own knowledge of Indian languages. The history of British India is still in print. अभी तक किसी को नहीं, सच्ची में नहीं पता कि यहाँ पे क्या क्या हुआ था. कि ये जो वीडियोस के बीच में जो टाइम गैप्स है उनके अंदर क्या क्या हुआ था ये अभी तक किसी को भी नहीं पता है. So, in his introduction to Ungoverned Imagination, James Mill, The History of British India and Orientalization, Javed Majid argues against the colonialist discourse, approaches Mill's history, while in forthcoming James Mill's The Despotism of Philosophy, David McLerney considers how Mill history of British India relates to Enlightenment historiography and especially William Robertson's historical discussion concerning the knowledge and the ancients had of India. He argues Mills first published the theory of government, the history of British India, uh, and that the Mills' use of history is not rationalist and empirical conception of history records relate to the improvement of government. Let us go to the things from the boxes. Hmm. So, first thing is, why do we continue to associate history with a string of dates? This is the question from. So, there was a time when history was an account of battle and big events. It was about ruler and their policy for events. For some events, specific dates can be determined in histories. Debates about dates continue to be important. Historians cite how people earn their livelihood, what they produce, and it how cities developed. How cities developed. how cities developed and markets came up, how kingdoms were formed, and new ideas spread, and how cultures and society changed. What criteria chose to set dates as important? Was the dates we select become vital because we focus on a particular set of event as important. If our focus on steady changes or if we begin to look at new issues, a new set will appear significant. Enlist the name. Okay. ये तो हम लोगों ने कर लिया. Enlist the name of governor general and viceroys who ruled over during the British period. ये तो हम लोगों ने क्या कर लिए थे ना. गवर्नर्स एंड वाइसरॉयज में सारे रूलर्स के नाम लिख दिए थे. और फिर why does historians write history into chapters? So this is also from the box. It is to tell a story in a way that makes some sense and can be followed. The process we focus only on those events that help us to give shape to the story we are telling. Why, why do many historians refer to modern period as colonial? Okay. Historians refer modern period as colonial because under British rule, people did not have equality and freedom or liberty, the symbols of modernity. और क्या बोला and बोल रहा था. And the question is, why should we not accept the Hindu-Muslim periodization of Indian history? That is a very. So, we should not accept the Hindu-Muslim periodization of Indian history because only British period was associated with the growth of forces of modernity, science, reason, democracy, liberty, and equality. It shows that the rulers in ancient India did not share the same faith. Medieval was a term used to describe a society where these features of modern society did not exist. Okay, let's move on. Many historians therefore refer to this period as colonial because in this route people did not have equality, freedom, and liberty, nor the period was economical growth and progress. Historians have divided Indian history to ancient, medieval, and modern. What is colonial? Okay. The subjugation of one country by the other led to these kinds of political, economical, social, and cultural changes we refer to the process as colonization. The British conquered the country and established their rule, subjugating local nawabs and rajas, established control over the economy and society, collected revenue to meet all their expenses, bought their goods they want at low prices, produced crops they need for export. British rule brought about in values and tastes custom practices. How do the official records of British administration help historians to write about the last 250 years of Indian history? That's also very nice question. The British believed that the act of writing was important. Every instruction, plan, policy, decision, agreement, investigation had to be clearly written up. Once this was done, things could be properly studied and debated. This conviction produced an administrative culture of memos, nothing and reports. The British felt that all important documents and letters need to be carefully preserved. So, they set up record rooms attached to the administrative instructions. The village, Tahsildar's office, the collectorate, the commissioner's office, the provincial secretariats, the law courts all had their record rooms. Specialized institutions like archives and museums were also established to preserve important records, letters, and memos that moved from one branch of the administration to another in the early years of 19th century can still be read in archives. They also read notes and reports that district officials prepared or the instructions and the directives that were sent by the officials at the top of the provincial. Yes, I'm reading one question. You have to do it from your homework. Please write it down. Why did British preserve official documents? Why did British preserve official documents? Why did British preserve official documents? This is the question. Let's move on. Why did the Where did the British keep official records? They set up record rooms attached to the administrative institutions. Okay, the village tahsildar's office, the collectorate commissioner's office, the provincial secretaries, the law courts all had their record rooms. Specialized institutions like archives and museums were also established to preserve important records. The answer for the question which I have just asked from you would be given at the last of this video. So be at with the last. Who are calligraphists? How were they important in the early 19th century? Calligraphists are those who were specialized in the art of writing beautiful handwriting. In the early years of 19th century, documents were carefully copied out and beautifully written by calligraphists. Why did the British think surveys were important for effective administration? You also need to write this because I have already told it. in this area. Why does the role of each ruler was important? I have already told you. So here the answer is okay. What sources historians used to know about the common people of India? The official records do not tell us what other peoples in country felt and what lay behind their actions. They use diaries of people's accounts of pilgrims and travelers, autobiographies, important personalities, and popular booklets that were sold in the local bazaars. As critics said, they used newspapers. Leaders, reformers wrote to spread their ideas, poets and novelists wrote to express their feeling on the sources, however, were reduced by those who were literate. Literate, not illiterate नहीं बोला, literate, पढ़े लिखे. But about the tribals and the peasants, the workers in the mines or the poor on the street, no written sources were there. So I have some questions for you. Try to do them. Why? How important are dates in history? How important are dates in history? How important are dates in history? So this is the question number one. I have 11 questions for you. So the second one is, what did James Mill think about Asian societies? What did James Mill think about the Asian societies? What did James Mill think about the Asian societies? What is the importance of chronology? What is the importance of chronology? The spelling of chronology is CHRONOLOGY. What is the importance of chronology? Why did historians regard the history of modern period in India as the history of a colonial period? Why did historians regard the history of modern period in India as the history of colonial period? Why did historians regard the history of the modern period in India as the history of colonial period? What is periodized? Question number 5 is, what is periodization? What is its importance? What is periodization? What is its importance? What is periodization? What is its importance? Question number 6 is, state the problems in which division of Indian history according to the historians into ancient, modern and medieval. State the problems in division of Indian history according to historians into ancient, modern and medieval. What did the British do to preserve important official documents? What did the British do to preserve important official documents? What did the British do to preserve important official documents? What? How? The question number 8 is, how has historical buildings and paintings proved useful as source of history? How has historical buildings and paintings proved useful as a source of history? How has historical buildings and paintings proved useful as a source of history? How did how did surveys become important under the colonial administration? How did surveys become important under colonial administration? And one more question is somewhere true and false. Says that official documents helps us to understand what the people think, what the people of country think, and what other people think about the country. Is it true or false? So I asked you, why did British preserve official documents? Thank you for being so large. So basically the meaning of this is one important source of official records of the British administration. One important source is the official records of British administration. British preserved official documents so that they could use these documents studied properly and debated. British preserved official documents so that they could use these documents studied properly and debated. So thank you for watching this video and I will see you in my next video. Till then, bye bye, take care. When we can you recording? Recording.